Right now, Ryan Davies from Northern Perspective is in Parliament exposing the longest ballot committee.
Says Mr. Davies, you testified, but you've interviewed and you've been in communication with a whistleblower who has been associated with the longest ballot committee. That whistleblower provided you with communications from the committee, including text messages, emails, as well as photographic evidence, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, pursuant to the Canada Elections Act, in order to get onto the ballot, a candidate must receive the signatures of at least 100 electors endorsing their candidacy. Some of the text messages and email evidence from the committee indicates or evidences that the committee was collecting signatures from electors before they had candidates to collect signatures on behalf of in violation of the Canada Elections Act. Is that fair?
That's fair, and even some of the text messages that we have from the whistleblower confirm that they hadn't even started the process and were asking for help in order to navigate that process while the signatures were already in hand, as evidenced by the text message.
Okay, so I'm going to go through some of the relevant text messages and emails, copies of which you provided to me. I have an email dated May 30th, 2024, a mass email, or it appears to be a mass email, sent out from the longest ballot committee. This was during the Toronto St. Paul's by-election. It reads, please excuse me, just throwing out the invite one last time. And then it goes on to say, we've collected the 100 nomination signatures you will need, and we'd love to have you, but certainly understand there are many, many, many good reasons not to participate in our crazy project. Just 3 more days till the deadline for candidate nominations arrives. Signed, Kieran Shukabich. So how is it that electors could have signed nomination forms endorsing candidates before the candidates themselves knew that they were candidates?
Well, and that's the whole question that we're asking, and that is why we try to raise awareness on this and email Elections Canada to ask about this, because if a candidate has not registered as a candidate and therefore has not authorized somebody as their delegate, how can you have that authorized delegate that hasn't been authorized to actually collect the signatures in the first place?
Well, precisely. And then I have another text message exchange between the whistleblower and Kieran Shukabich, dated August 16th, 2024, and during the LaSalle-Imard-Verdun by-election, in which the whistleblower writes, how many people so far are going to break the record, as in going to break the record of candidates, to which Shukabich replies, it's 53 right now, probably 60 tomorrow. We collected signatures for 109, so it's possible we'll break 100, but it depends on who can get it all done in the next week. Fingers crossed. And then 2 days later, there was a video posted on the Longest Ballot Committee's YouTube channel of Thomas Shukabich, with the title below, the title of the video being Message from the Official Agent. Now, I've watched the video, and Thomas Shukabich states as follows: if we're going to break the record of the Longest Ballot Committee, we need everyone to sign up as soon as possible. We've already collected 100 nomination signatures for you. Now, just to be clear, that YouTube video has been removed by the Longest Ballot Committee, correct?
After expose, they removed that, and a lot of the other longest ballot organizers disappeared from social media.
Okay, very interesting. How convenient. And then there is a text message from, again, Kieran Shukabich, dated March 31st, 2025, in the context of the Longest Ballot Committee recruiting candidates in the Carleton riding, in which he states to the whistleblower, I emailed you the nomination signatures and official agent form a few days ago. Now, you've talked to the whistleblower about his involvement in the Longest Ballot Committee. According to the whistleblower, he had not indicated any interest in running for the Longest Ballot Committee in Carleton, correct?
That's correct.
He was not involved in the Longest Ballot Committee at that point.
That's correct, and evidence even shows that there's repeated attempts by Kieran to engage him over the course of several days and even the course of a week, trying to get him to say that, yes, I'm going to run, and there was no response by the whistleblower.
And yet the longest ballot committee here already had collected his signatures. How's that possible?
Well, and that's the whole point, and
Right.
it wasn't. And in fact, in Thomas Szukewicz's testimony on Tuesday, he was even trying to say, well, you know, we already know who's interested, and then that's how we know how to collect the signatures. But if they haven't registered as the candidate, and there's even another email that we have that specifically is from the longest ballot committee to the whistleblower asking him to, don't forget to assign Thomas as your delegate as soon as possible. But in the same email, they say they already have the signatures. So one cannot happen without the other if you're playing by the rules.
Okay, well, Mr. Chair, this evidence is very disturbing. It raises serious questions about whether the longest ballot committee collected invalid signatures, which in turn raises the question, how many candidates connected with the longest ballot committee have appeared on the ballot who should not have because they didn't have the requisite valid 100 signatures as required by the Canada Elections Act, and it raises further questions about whether the longest ballot committee broke the law.
Very brief response. We're at.
I would just say it's, when you look at the scale of how many candidates that the longest ballot has actually engaged with since they started back in 2019, and you multiply this procedure, if they've been following it every single time for every single candidate, you have hundreds of violations of the Elections Canada Act, and potentially that compounds because it could be impersonation, it could be obstruction, and depending on how the criminal justice code interprets it, it could be amounting to forgery as well.
This is truly bringing to light how broken our election system is when a organization or group of people can apply this level of interference in a federal, provincial, or by-election.
Thank you very much, Chair. Mr. Davies, in your opening testimony, you appeared to be, well, you were very clear in what you surmised to be happening here based on the information that you have. Could you elaborate a little bit more on why you think the longest ballot committee is actually operating as a political party rather than as a protest group?
Well, you just have to look at your own political parties, and it doesn't matter which one you're a part of, Liberal, Bloc, NDP, Green, PPC, what have you. If someone wants to know more about your party, where do they go? They go to your centralized party website where you have all of your media. And the longest ballot, they were centralized on X, and now they're centralized on Blue Sky. Most of their media isn't there. They have random social media posts they put up there, but all of their formalized statements, political statements, and formal responses to even committee meetings, statements by the chief electoral officer, they're all posted on the Marxist-Leninist Party website. So there's that. So they formalize all of that into one specific website. But where it really comes into play is they operate as if they're a political apparatus. They're talking to their candidates as if they're running across the country, but they're not. They're running in one riding. They give them all one direction. They're running under a single platform. They are...
Just to be clear, a political entity is only allowed to have one candidate on the ballot in each constituency. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So you believe that because they're either committing an offense by running more than one candidate, or they're failing to register as a party. Is that correct?
Correct. The main crux of it is a registered party is only allowed to run one candidate per riding. So they get around this by not being "quote unquote" registered. But
Do you think a legitimate candidate gets 0, 1, or 2 votes in an election?
I think a legitimate
serious
candidate would be embarrassed to get that amount.
Interestingly, I've been personally quite frustrated since 2017 with the decision by a court in Alberta, which ironically, the witness that was here on behalf of the longest ballot committee is suggesting that people outside of Parliament should be making rules. So here we've had a rule made by a judge in Alberta in 2017, somebody who's not a politician and has never likely run for it, appears to have no political experience whatsoever, has now made a decision to remove the $1,000 bond. I've often thought it was a mistake by the government at the time to not appeal that decision. Can you tell me more? The individual, the case was Kieran Szukiewicz versus Canada in that particular case. Is there any relation between that Mr. Szukiewicz and the one that testified here 2 days ago?
Sure, he's the brother of Thomas Szukiewicz, and the The biggest thing that jumped out at me in this decision is actually paragraph 23, where it says the applicant submits that while the deposit requirement is allegedly an attempt to deter frivolous candidates, it may well deter non-frivolous candidates who are not affluent. So,
Does the longest ballot committee, in your opinion, have anything but frivolous candidates?
no.
Do you think that, so obviously, from my perspective, this appears to be a well-orchestrated campaign that started well before and they knew that they would have to get that $1,000 bond removed, and actually were prepared to go to court. What does that suggest to you about political motivations and the actions of an actual political party?
Well, given the fact that they're trying to get all of the requirements removed, this seems to be a well-thought-out, orchestrated attempt to engage in this behavior in the first place. Because after he won this court challenge, did he run in the election? Not as a legitimate candidate. All of a sudden, he teams up with the Rhinoceros Party, and they start running these long ballots. And the biggest thing about this court challenge is this was him saying this is violating his Charter 3 rights. But now they're going on to violate the Charter 3 rights of people with disabilities and seniors across this country. And for people to say that this is a small issue, it is not. This is an issue that our forefathers fought for. Yeah. And we need to take that seriously.
Couldn't agree with you more. With all of the information that you have from the whistleblower, plus everything that we know in the public domain, is there anything that leads you to believe that the longest ballot committee is actually just a protest, or are they operating with clear and decisive intent?
I think the fact that they couldn't even answer the chair's question about, okay, fine, let's accept that this is a protest. What's your solution? And they don't even have a thought-out solution. And then they've been doing this for 6 years. They haven't thought about that at all. This shows that they're not serious about an actual resolution, and this is just malicious intent.
Do you think
Thank you so much, Mr.
For those who don't know, the Rhinoceros Party is a political satire party, so if the longest ballot committee was one way or another involved with them, that would make sense. It is definitely interesting and cool to see a YouTuber such as Northern Perspective make his way into a parliament committee. He's in the big leagues now. At the end of the day, by any means necessary, the longest ballot committee needs to go. The rules need to change and the loopholes need to disappear. Targeting an MP from any political party like this is just absurd. Anyway, I would like to know what you think down in the comment section below, and have a good one.